Okay guys, today I'm going to talk about how to convert a high-tech tank into a low-tech planted tank. So if you don't know already, a high-tech tank just has everything maxed out, right? High lighting, CO2 injection, high dosing of fertilizers, and usually that allows you to grow some more advanced plants, and it's just a more advanced setup overall. A low-tech tank is easier for people to take care of because it's lower lighting, usually no CO2 injection, lower dosing of fertilizers, slower growing plants, that sort of thing. So a reason someone might want to convert a tank from high-tech into low-tech is maybe they're running out of time to spend on their tanks, or they're possibly setting it up for someone else to take care of, so they want to make it easier, which is exactly what I ended up doing in this tank, because I was going off to school and I wanted to make the tank easier for my parents to take care of. So now I'm going to talk through some of the steps I took into converting it from a high-tech into a low-tech. So there are three main things you want to keep in mind with planted tanks. It's always lighting, CO2, and the nutrients. So in a low-tech tank, all of those things are going to be lower than in a high-tech tank. So the first thing I did was simply remove the CO2, right? Because we don't want that. It's going to increase the difficulty, increase the speed of the plants that are growing, and it's just not necessary in a low-tech tank. So that's the first step. Second step is a little more involved. It's the lighting. So the one option you have is to simply get a light that's a lower intensity for your tank. So maybe you have some really bright LEDs and you switch them to something else. But there's an easier, a little more cheaper method is to simply implement floating plants, which is what I did in all of my tanks. What this does is it blocks out some of the light that would have entered the tank and pretty much turns it into a low light tank. And I have a video on the pros and cons of floating plants, so I won't get into that, but they also have a lot of other benefits like absorbing excess nutrients and stuff like that. So they're really good to have in a low-tech tank, and it's a really simple way to convert a tank that's high-tech into low-tech without having to change your equipment. And it also leaves the option open to go back to the high-tech tank in the future if you ever want to, simply by removing the floating plants. And then the third thing is the fertilizers or the nutrients that you're dosing. So in a high-tech tank, you're dosing much more frequently and in larger amounts. In a low-tech tank, I dose once a week after a water change, and it's much lower amounts. So that covers the three parameters that need adjusting. And the last thing you need to do is figure out if you need to switch out any of your plants you currently have that aren't going to do well in low-tech conditions because they either require high light or CO2 injection. So in this tank, I had to remove a lot of the stem plants that I had, and I switched those out for Java fern, which does well in low-tech conditions. However, I was able to keep plants like the crypts because they do pretty well in all conditions. So you kind of have to figure out plant by plant. But once you have that set up, it's pretty much ready to be a low-tech tank. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and thanks for watching.